Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories in the week. I am Bisi Adebayo. The headlines. Nigeria marks 60 years of independence amidst COVID-19 pandemic. Federal Executive Council proposes 13.8 trillion naira budget for the year 2021. Organized labor suspends 2 weeks warning strike. And U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump test positive for coronavirus. News Round begins with the nation's 60th independence anniversary, which has been marked with colorful cultural displays and military parade at the Eagle Square in Abuja. This year, the celebration comes with a difference owing to the global COVID-19 pandemic, which has disrupted crowd-pulling activities that usually marks the event. President Buhari, alongside top government officials and prominent guests, including former President Goodluck Jonathan and his wife, graced the occasion in Abuja, and governors across the states gave messages of hope and peace to mark the anniversary.
This is the second time Independence Day is celebrated at the Eagle Square in Abuja after the 2010 October 1st bombing in the nation's capital. Government officials invited the president and the guests, including the former President Goodluck Jonathan and his wife Dame Patience Jonathan. As is a tradition, President Buhari inspects the parade. The Nigerian Air Force gets to showcase its prowess amidst cultural displays. Then it was time to sign the anniversary register, and all attendees gave up 3 happy cheers for Nigeria's Diamond Jubilee. Then came the national salute. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced many state governments to make a painful choice to keep things simple. From across the north, Nigeria's 60th independence anniversary is marked on the low key. In Kaduna State, Governor Nasir El-Rufai is seeking an end to the crisis in southern Kaduna and other parts of the state, while the Kogi State Governor identifies the families that lost lives to the petrol tanker explosion.
We've had triumphs and tragedies, made some progress and endured reversals.
We are working as a government to ensure that the manner of their deaths, which has happened severally in the past, does not repeat itself in the future.
The Gombe State Governor joins the celebration, addressing issues of good governance, while thousands of youth in Sokoto State march in solidarity to celebrate Nigeria at 60.
There must have been successes, there must have been failures, and there must have been challenges. But nonetheless, I think it is worth celebrating that we are 60.
The celebration is marked with a summit centered on peace, development, women and youth empowerment in Plateau, Nasarawa and Bauchi.
The present challenges confronting us as a country is a passing phase that is crucial to building a vibrant, peaceful and united country at the long run.
Our youth must be rescued from despondency, disillusionment, and, of course, redundancy.
In southwest Nigeria, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is marking the anniversary in a special way with 60 future leaders at the State House Marina, taking our time to educate them on the history of Nigeria.
We must ask ourselves, do we see a trajectory of growth, going forward?
In neighboring Oyo and Ogun State, Governor Seyi Makinde leads a walk for freedom, a symbol that the country needs to move forward and build on the positives, while Governor Dapo Abiodun celebrates with a parade by members of the armed forces and cutting of the anniversary cake. He gives assurance of reforms in strategic areas.
It's not everything that is wrong with Nigeria. We've gotten certain things right, and we should focus on those things that we have gotten right and try to build on it.
We will take advantage of this diamond anniversary of a great nation, not only to reappraise all our policies and programs in the last 1 year, but also to improve our approach and strategy towards ensuring the continued delivery of good governance to the people of the state.
In southeast Nigeria, Governor Willie Obiano announces a solemn celebration, and in Ebonyi State, it's not just about the 60th anniversary. The state is also marking 24 years of its existence.
We cannot roll out the drums for celebration when the world is in deep grief. For COVID-19 has restricted our laughter, but it has not killed our joy.
We have so cooperated, and it is in the midst of this cooperation that we have managed, through the special grace of God, to move Ebonyi State forward.
In the South-South, a Thanksgiving service was held in Delta State. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa appealed to members of the National Assembly to revisit the Electoral Act to guarantee free, fair and credible elections at all levels. And in Rivers State, the usual parade took place, and Governor Nelson Wike called for restructuring and fiscal federalism to avert what he terms an inevitable doomsday.
We expect that it will be better and that the elections will be free and fair, just, and that the vote of the people will continue to count.
Unfortunately, the foundational principles of negotiated constitutionalism, regional autonomy, and fiscal federalism were blatantly jettisoned by long years of misguided military incursions and aventurism into the nation's body politics.
As Nigeria looks forward to another celebration in 2021, the government is using the opportunity to give assurances to citizens and renew hope that challenges in whatever form will be surmounted, with a reminder that it will take a collective responsibility of all to get through.
Now, before the president made his way to the Eagle Square for the parades, he earlier engaged Nigerians during a nationwide broadcast on the country's journey in the last 60 years. A major highlight of the president's Independence Day broadcast is the need for a prosperous, secure and dynamic country in all spheres, especially in the face of daunting challenges and scarce resources. President Buhari speaks on his vision and expectations in areas of social cohesion, reviving the economy and improving the political climate.
2020 sees Nigeria commemorating its Diamond Jubilee, October the 1st, 60 years after it gained independence from Great Britain. Although there was a military parade in the nation's capital to mark the event, this year's celebration comes with a difference. No thanks to the raging global COVID-19 pandemic.
Today,
the day begins with President Muhammadu Buhari's nationwide broadcast on the state of the nation and Nigeria's journey so far. He speaks of the efforts of the country's founding fathers, the current challenges, and what he believes must be done to solve them.
We must focus our minds together as a people on ways of resolving the identified critical challenges that underlie our present state. These include A, evolving and sustaining a democratic culture that leaves power in the hands of the people. B, supporting the enthronement of the rule of law, demanding accountability of elected representatives and contributing to good governance. C, increasing our commitment to peaceful coexistence in a peaceful, secure, and united Nigeria. D, harnessing and optimizing our tremendous human and natural resources to attain our goal of being in the top 20 economies of the world, and in the process, E, lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. F, strengthening institutions to make them stronger in protecting national interests. And G, imbibing tolerance in diversity.
In spite of Nigeria's position as the largest economy in Africa, the president still believes its dwindling fortunes can be revived, especially at a time the world is battling the COVID-19 pandemic. He insists now is the time for the process of national healing to begin.
I am aware that our economy, along with every single economy in the world, is in crisis. We still face security challenges in parts of the country, while our society suffers from high loss of moral rectitude, which is driven by unbridled craving for political control. We need to begin a sincere process of national healing.
The current political climate in Nigeria, according to the president, is evolving, and the conduct of transparent, free, fair and credible elections remains key in Nigeria's democratic experience.
The recent build-up and eventual outcome of the Edo State election should encourage Nigerians that it is my commitment to bequeath to this country processes and procedures that would guarantee that the people's votes count.
The journey to nationhood has had its fair share of successes and failures in the last 60 years. Notwithstanding, it behoves on citizens and the government to work for the survival and progress of Nigeria that will stand the test of time for future generations.
Away from the independence celebration, following the discovery of 2.67 billion naira meant for the school feeding program but allegedly found in private accounts, President Muhammadu Buhari is reaffirming his commitment to eradicating corruption in the country. The president restated this goal in Abuja at an event to mark the 20th anniversary of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission.
It's the second annual National Summit of the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission with the theme, Together Against Corruption.
I wish to reiterate.
President Buhari takes the podium as he recounts how he fought corruption as a military head of state.
As military head of state, I fought corruption headlong and held public officers who abused their offices or misused public funds to account. Furthermore, I introduced the war against indiscipline, one of various cardinal objectives was promotion of our cherished culture of ethical conduct, integrity, and hard work. We must all join hands together to fight corruption and return to our traditional values of honesty and integrity. I hereby use the opportunity of this summit to launch the National Ethics and Integrity Policy as a fresh roadmap to return Nigeria to these critical national values.
With the president's insistence that Nigeria needs a corruption-free public sector to achieve transformation, the chairman of the ICPC presents a score sheet of recent recoveries made by the commission.
We discovered payments to federal colleges, secondary schools for school feeding, amounting to 2.67 billion during the lockdown when children were not in school, and some of this money we traced ended up in personal accounts. We have arrested those who are involved, and investigations are ongoing to who they fed when children were at home and there was a lockdown.
The Ninth National Assembly have
The President of the Senate gives legislative backing to the anti-graft body as he highlights the position of the National Assembly on the fight against corruption.
As a conscious and patriotic assembly, the Ninth National Assembly has passed several important legislations to advance the social and economic well-being of our country.
With the speeches over, President Buhari recognizes and commends the winner of the Anti-Corruption Music Award, Opeyemi Adeboye, winner of the Junior Secondary School Competition, Chikezie Favor, and winner of the Senior Secondary School Competition. He also presents the 2020 Public Service Integrity Awards to Francis Erabo, a Chief Superintendent of Police, and Hamza Bouai of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment.
Ahead of the presentation of the 2021 budget before the National Assembly next week, the Federal Executive Council has approved the 13.08 trillion naira expenditure. It comes with a deficit of 4.48 trillion naira, with oil production rate pegged at 1.86 million barrels per day and the oil benchmark standing at $40 per barrel.
We do expect that the Nigerian economy will recover to the path of growth early in 2021. So the total aggregate revenue that is projected for the 2021 budget is 7.89 trillion. And what is unique about the 2021 budget is that we have brought in the budgets of 60 government-owned enterprises. If you recall, in 2020, we brought in 10. Now we have brought in 60. But this 60 exclude NMPC and the central bank. And the reason being, NMPC, a national oil company, internationally, national oil companies are not included in the national budget. And also CBN is an autonomous body. So only those two are excluded. 60 government-owned enterprises are included. That is to say their revenue and all categories of expenditure are now integrated in the budget. So we have a total aggregate expenditure revenue of 7.89 trillion and also an aggregate expenditure of 13.08 trillion for 2021. There is a fiscal deficit of 4.489 trillion. This represents 3.64%, slightly above what is required by the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 3%. And also to report that the total capital expenditure that is projected in the budget is 29% of the aggregate expenditure. This is an improvement over the 24% that we have in 2020, but slightly below the 30% that we targeted in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan.
And moving on to other stories, the organized labor has suspended its planned industrial action and nationwide protests over the hike in petrol pump price and electricity tariff. The decision to suspend the strike for 2 weeks was reached after hours of negotiations between the federal government and labor unions at the banquet hall of the State House in Abuja. Following that, electricity distribution companies have been directed to immediately suspend their new tariff, although the new pump price of petrol remains.
The country waited for the clock to strike midnight on Sunday, the 27th of September. Organized labor in the country had threatened a nationwide strike action accompanied by massive protests across the country if the hike in fuel and electricity prices were not reversed by midnight of the 27th. While the government and organized labor bickered, the masses waited with bated breaths for the impact this strike would have on the already diminished resources.
Emergency meeting.
This in mind, both parties attempt a last-ditch effort to avert the crisis. One more meeting after a series of protests, threats and court orders.
As we sit here,
it starts off a bit rocky with accusations and counter-accusations.
At our last meeting, which the press described as deadlocked, I don't think it was deadlocked. I made it clear that we put proposals on the table and the labor centers said they will go home and fine-tune those proposals to suit their own needs.
Labor, because of the fact that we are passionate on this issue, particularly the hike in electricity tariff, you remembered we had to seek judicial pronouncement. And as I speak, we have a system judgment of the court, Federal High Court Lagos, that said the increase is illegal and therefore it should be set aside.
It was wrong for government to have sponsored some people, good people of Nigeria, to protest at the Eagle Square or where, Unity Fountain, that the labor movement should not go on strike.
They go into a technical session excusing the media so they can properly iron out the details of their impasse.
You can excuse us for maybe 30 minutes.
At about 3 a.m. after hours of deliberations, both parties come to an understanding, signing an MOU which first of all suspends the planned strike action for 2 weeks, while a committee is set up to look into justification for the hike in electricity tariff, and the government works on plans to revive the downstream sector.
To cushion the impacts of the downstream sector deregulation and tariff adjustments in the power sector, the federal government will implement the following. 1, specific amount to be unveiled by the federal government in 2 weeks' time and will be selected from the Economic Sustainability Program, ESP, Intervention Fund, and be assessed by Nigerian workers with subsequent provision for 240,000 of them benefiting under the auspices of NSC and TUC. The federal government will also facilitate the removal of tax on minimum wage as a way of cushioning the impacts of the policy on the lowest vulnerable persons. Consequently, the NSC and the TUC have this night agreed to suspend the planned industrial action with effect from this moment.
Organized labor is quick to point out the strike has not been called off. It's only been suspended, pending when the government will make good on the promises it has made.
All agreements here shall be followed up. And what that means is that if the agreement is not being followed up as agreed here, we may not need another notice before we proceed on strike. So it's a suspension. It's not call off of strike.
So the federal government have reprieve for 2 weeks. For the masses, they must continue to cope with the new pump price of petrol, while they await the palliatives promised to cushion the effect of the new price. From the State House in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
News round ends with the news of U.S. President Donald Trump being hospitalized in a military hospital in Washington after he and his wife, Melania, tested positive for COVID-19. President Trump's chief of staff says the president is on the job and in good spirits, adding that he expected him to make a quick recovery. The president and his wife received the results after one of the president's closest aides became infected. Meantime, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and Second Lady Karen have tested negative for the virus.
Just about 4 weeks to the U.S. presidential election, President Donald Trump announced in a tweet that he and his wife Melania had tested positive to COVID-19. The president's result comes after months of downplaying the severity of the outbreak that has killed more than 207,000 in the country. Hours before this news, it was reported that Hope Hicks, a close advisor to Trump who traveled with him aboard Air Force One several times this week, had tested positive. According to Mr. Trump's physician, both the president and his wife are well at this time, and they plan to remain at home within the White House during their convalescence. As expected, international reaction has been trailing the news. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson tweeted that he hoped the couple both have a speedy recovery, returning the favor to Trump, who tweeted support to Johnson when he himself was in hospital with COVID-19 in April.
Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he wished the first couple a quick recovery and good health. Meanwhile, spokesperson for the French government says the president's diagnosis demonstrates that the virus spares no one, including those who have shown skepticism.
And I will use it gladly.
Just a day before he tested positive, President Donald Trump attended a rally at an airport in Minnesota. As has been the case at most of his public appearances, the president did not wear a face mask. The crowd was not socially distanced, and most of those who attended appeared to have not worn face coverings either.
And that's it on News Rounds this week. Thank you for watching. I am Bisi Adebayo.